Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Gone are the days of wrestling with our favorite LJN wrestling figures, trying to convince them to stand up. What's a guy to do? I'll tell you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get on Etsy and look up 4 Left 3D Creations and get yourself these amazing custom LJN figure stands. There is a custom stand available for every single one of your LJN wrestling superstar figures. Make your display shine by grabbing these custom LJN stands from 4 Left 3D Creations today.
What's up, everybody? Jason W. New Age Revolution Cave for a episode of Wrestling with the Past. We are taking a look at Tuesday Night Titans, or Friday Night Titans, as it is now airing on Friday nights, as I have said before. March 29th, 1985. Folks, do the math. Get your pens and pencils and paper out. Carry the 1, carry the 2, divide by 6. WrestleMania is 2 days away. That's right, WrestleMania is 2 days away. And we are down to the TNT, the Championship Wrestling, and the All-Star Wrestling. WrestleMania Eve is tomorrow. So here we go. Now, as expected, there was this was all WrestleMania promo. It was all prelude to WrestleMania. They weren't even in the TNT set. So we've got the TNT opening, but Vince McMahon and Lord Alfred Hayes are in the WWF Control Center, or whatever it was called. It's the setting. It's the setting with, you see it in the picture. It's the setting with all the monitors. Mean Gene hosts USA All American Wrestling from this control center, whatever it is. This is their studio, and I believe that this studio is the studio that TNT is filmed at. This is just the backstage. This is just the control room of that studio, and this was an actual studio in Baltimore, Maryland. And the name escapes me right now, but it was a television studio in Baltimore that they filmed TNT, and I think that this is where all of this control room footage comes from. All right, so as I expected, this is a total recap show. So first we're going to get the recap of what led up to the main event. And so they're taking us all the way back to the awards presentation in Madison Square Garden, where Roddy Piper smashes the gold album over the head of Captain Lou, solidifies Lou as a good guy, thrusts Cyndi Lauper and Dave Wolf and the whole MTV Rockin' Wrestling into the picture, makes Roddy Piper the most hated bad guy in the world. Hulk Hogan comes out. Here we go. We've got the very beginnings of WrestleMania with that awards presentation. After that, we get the Piper's Pit. Well, it was never really a Piper's Pit. It was Roddy Piper on the set of the A-Team. And that begins the slight physical altercation between T and Piper. They don't get in. They don't go to dukes. They don't throw hands, but there's a kind of a little pull apart, in your face kind of a pushing thing. What, Liam?
What's a Piper's Pit?
Piper's Pit? Oh, it's just it's an old wrestling thing. Funny line by Mr. T that I didn't catch the first time. T said that Piper fights wimps, but what I do is for real. And he's on the set of the A-Team, so apparently he's trying to say that Roddy Piper fights wimps, but the action that Mr. T gets into on the A-Team is real. Wasn't sure if that's exactly what he meant, or if he meant that all the street fighting that he does is real, or all the tough man. I don't know what he was talking about. I hope he wasn't talking about what I do here on the A-Team is real and you, Roddy Piper, fight wimps. That leads to Piper kind of pushing the chair into Mr. T a little bit. He's got one of the director's chair with his name on the back. Mr. T is on the back of the chair. Roddy Piper makes fun of that. I think he bumps the chair into Piper or vice versa. I don't know. And they kind of have a little skirmish and some directors or producers or extras or key grips or best boys of A team come in and separate the two. What did you do?
Beauty level.
Oh, good job. So we got that. All right. Oh, again, Piper with his, again, everybody, compliments Roddy Piper on his interview skills or his back. The one thing that many things, but the biggest thing I don't like about Roddy Piper is his drop the mic one-liners that never make any sense to me. So as Piper's being ushered off the set of the A-Team, he says, "If you mess with me, brother, I'll put an X on your name." And I don't know what that means. And he says it so confidently. And again, if there was a mic drop in 1984, that would be it. Piper just gets that one line in, and it doesn't make any sense to me at all. "If you mess with me, brother, I'll put an X on your name." Okay. From there, we've got footage from War to Settle the Score, Hogan versus Piper. I can tell you that card, and I reviewed it months ago on the show, that card got me very pumped up for WrestleMania. That card alone got me wanting to watch the main event of WrestleMania very much. That MSG show, War to Settle the Score, with the MTV involvement, did a fantastic job of getting people ready for WrestleMania. From there, we go back to the set. We go back to the control room. And McMahon clarifies that WrestleMania will not be seen on home television. And then for the first time since they've been promoting WrestleMania, he says, except for a few cable systems on a pay-per-view basis. That is a quote. WrestleMania will not be seen in your home at all, except for a few cable companies on a pay-per-view basis. I had no idea. I had no idea that WrestleMania was available on pay-per-view, even if it's a tiny little, batch of cable systems. I didn't know that. He also then says, you will be old and gray before you are able to see WrestleMania on your home television. You will be old and gray before you're able to watch WrestleMania on your home television. Okay, we got Piper's Pit. Another Piper's Pit in Madison Square Garden. This is the one that just happened recently. I reviewed it last week or so. Mr. T is a guest. Hogan and Snuka accompany Mr. T. Orndorff and Orton accompany Piper. Everybody's taking a backstage, background, whatever, back seat. Everybody's taking a back seat to Mr. T and Roddy Piper. They're letting them do their things. And that's not risky when you have somebody like Mr. T who knows what he's doing. Mr. T is fantastic on promos as the build up to wrestling. He's not awkward. He's not actor awkward. You know how actors just don't know what they're supposed to do promo wise. Mr. T kills it. So they let Mr. T and Piper go face to face, jab for jab, insult for insult, and it was great. This is the Piper's Pit where paintings are brought out of what Mr. T is going to look like after the match, and it actually somebody hand drew these and painted them, and they're on these big cardboard poster boards of Mr. T in a sling, Mr. T in a cast, Mr. T in a hospital bed. Funny. I like I said before, I get the idea that Tony Atlas might have painted them, as Tony Atlas is a decent artist. Again, nobody comes to blows. It's all just pushing, shoving, and the bad guys getting out of there. And that's great. That's very old school booking, that nobody touches anybody until it's time. Nobody touches anybody so Mr. T doesn't get, well, he gets assaulted at the War to Settle the Score, but other than that, he doesn't get his revenge on anybody until WrestleMania. You don't touch anybody. It's great. I noticed since this is a recap show, I'm kind of I want to notice things. In the Piper's Pit in Madison Square Garden, when Piper is coming to the ring, he comes down the aisle, he makes his way around the announcer's booth, he walks past Gorilla, and Howard Finkel is there, and Howard Finkel whispers something to Roddy Piper, and Roddy Piper just kind of nods. No idea. Wish I knew what they were saying. Neither one of them are alive, so I can't ask them. But I love stuff like that. I love noticing stuff like that. This show is not, this TNT is not that entertaining because it's all recap, and I don't love recap. But I'll get to that at the end of this because this one did its job. But I like to look for little things like that. Howard Finkel saying something to Roddy Piper. We get an extended interview with Mean Gene and Billy Martin. This is the first time I've seen this. All the other times when they're promoting Billy Martin being at the show at WrestleMania, they just have literally a 15-second clip of him sitting on an outside patio with Mean Gene, and it's a quick back and forth, and then, all right, we'll see you at WrestleMania. This time, Mean Gene walks into a bar, like a dockside bar, like a lakeside bar, and there's a bunch of guys, and Billy Martin's at the bar. And Mean Gene walks in. I'm looking for Billy Martin. And Billy Martin turns around. And of course, he's got the Miller Lite prominently displayed on the bar because I think at that time, Billy Martin was an ad man, a pitch man for Miller Lite. So we've got the Miller Lite on the bar. And Billy Martin is, trying his best to be witty. And from there, they go outside. So that's where they're sitting at the outside patio. And we have a much longer interview. It's not great. They barely talk about wrestling. They talk about baseball, and then they mention WrestleMania, and that's it. But I've never seen it. I've never seen this until now, or else I have no memory of it. If I've seen it, I don't recall. From there, we get an extended interview with Liberace. And I think this is the first time Liberace is even interviewed about WrestleMania. Mean Gene is at Liberace's house. I've never seen this. Liberace's at a piano, of course. He's sitting there. Mean Gene's sitting next to him. They're talking. Liberace talks about his mother being a wrestling fan and how she used to, in Liberace's voice, is, my mother used to watch wrestling. Gorgeous George. She loved Gorgeous George. And you get the impression that between Billy Martin and Liberace, neither one of them have any clue what wrestling is. Like, they have no idea. They haven't watched it. They don't care about it. I don't even know why they, asked these two guys to be a part of the show. This is before celebrity involvement in wrestling was big. So, usually you get a celebrity that kind of knows a little bit about wrestling. These guys, they're trying hard, but they're clueless. And then Liberace, who's the guest timekeeper, shows us this gigantic gold or silver, piano watch. So he's got this massive bling before bling is cool in 1984, the huge watch, and it's actually a piano. And he's like, I'll be keeping score on my piano watch. And okay, that's that. He's going to use that watch as a timekeeper. Back to the control center, and for the first time since the announcement of WrestleMania, Tito Santana and King Kong Bundy are mentioned as being on the card. They don't say who their opponents are, but they say, and Tito Santana and King Kong Bundy will also be seeing action at WrestleMania. They're in, curtain jerk squash matches, of course, but so we don't, you don't hear Vince going in, Tito's going to take on the masked executioner. Just Tito Santana, King Kong Bundy will be in action. First time I've heard that. First time I saw the Billy Martin interview. First time I saw the Liberace interview. Then we go to, again, a first time seeing Mr. T and Hulk Hogan training. Now, I've seen them training before, but this time they are doing the Mr. T training, plan or his training program. They're in New York, I assume. I assume they're in downtown New York. And it looks like Central Park. And they're running through Central Park. And then they show them working out in a New York City gym. And then they're doing this strange male scissoring. They're doing sit-ups together, but they've got their legs wrapped around themselves. They're each other, and they're doing sit-ups together and running into each other. It's kind of don't do that to your shirt. It was kind of ambiguous. But what else? Oh, and then it closes with them in an empty Madison Square Garden with a plywood-based ring being set up. So I actually think, and I could be wrong, that this was filmed possibly in like maybe not live, but current times with the date of the program, because it looks like they're setting up a wrestling event at Madison Square Garden. Now it could have been Madison Square Garden held a show mid-March. So they might have filmed this, but I thought it was cool that they were in an empty Madison Square Garden with a ring that hadn't even been set up yet. Just the plywood and the ring posts were up. I thought that was cool. As a kid, I would have freaked out about that because you don't know what the ring actually looks like. But I thought that was neat that they were in Madison Square Garden and the ring hadn't been set up yet, and they were pounding on they were hitting the plywood a little bit, and thought that was cool. So that's that. That's the show. That's the TNT total build for WrestleMania. And I'll tell you what, I've seen WrestleMania 1,000 times. I've seen all of 85, maybe 10, 12 years ago. I watched all of 85, including WrestleMania. This is the first time that I'm watching it that I'm actually looking very forward to WrestleMania. Probably because I'm watching it a little bit more in depth, and then I'm talking about it with you guys. So I'm thinking about it more, I'm watching it more, I'm noticing it more. And it's at a bit of a slower pace. So I feel like there's been an awesome build to WrestleMania. And I think some of you guys are looking forward to, me reviewing WrestleMania as well. So that's coming in, probably, we're going to do it in one more show. I'm going to review Championship Wrestling and All-Star Wrestling in one show. And then we're going to do WrestleMania. So let's look forward to that. All right, that is all. Wrestling with the Past in the books. Good night now.